What's happening, party people? I am here at the VA trying to get a temporary small prescription filled because I've taken my last piece of medication today and I can't go trumping around without it. This ain't the right thing to do. You should take your meds if it stuff helps you be healthy. So anyway, when I get done here, I'm gonna hit the junkyard. I'm gonna hit the shop, clean up my mess there. I'm gonna pack up. I'm gonna go see Paul, try to get out of here, head to Roswell. From Roswell, I'm headed towards San Diego. So that's where I'm at. Yesterday was a decent day. I made a big mistake. Could have been tragic, but it turned out okay. So you'll see that in a few days. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Appreciate your help. Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert, that's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you can click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. Kicking off the Tinker Day. 2012 XC90, we're going to replace the heater core. Link is in the description area below. I'm going to try to find my coolant hose pinch off clamps to pinch off the heater hoses there and then attack it from the inside. Take the driver's side heater control to hot so that your arm is out of the way. Pull the pins, pull the screw. Plastic bag to catch the coolant, hose pinched off outside, we should be good to go. XC90's got plenty of room to get that in and out. Got the old seals out, new seals in, heater core in. Gotta push them in, put the clips in. Always been one clip getting it out, that lower clip. So we purchased a new clip and we purchased new seals because the heater core didn't come with seals. So we're gonna use this old clip and this new clip. Gotta push those pipes in real tight to get those clips in. I'm gonna do the top one first. Here it is. Clips all the way in, point sticking out the back. That clips all the way in, point sticking out the back. Man, that was tough. I actually put a soft flat tip screwdriver in there and tapped the line into the core. I did this getting it out. Not sure, I probably was prying out on the clip to put that dent in that line, but that should be fine. It's aluminum, shouldn't leak. So let me go take the clips off from outside, start it up, check it for leaks. The pivot back there moved more than I remembered, and I need to plug in my brake switch again. That got stuck back there somehow. Let me go start the car and get that out of here. Release these two things on the hose clamps before I start it. They should be good to go. Push the brake down, get this line out of here. Well, I thought pushing the brake down would help. Let me use two hands. Clip that back in there. Let that run for a little while. Make sure it don't leak. Should be good to go. Do-do-do-do. Dry as a bone. Let that run for about 10-15 minutes and put the panels back up. Part number for the O-rings, part number for the clamp. Funny little aluminum clip there. Heater core is done, panels on. Topping off the coolant. Next up, the S70. The turn signal's not working right. I believe it's the flasher relay button. So we're gonna swap that out real quick. On the S70, the flashers and the turn signal didn't work, and it's this switch. The relay is inside there. So we replaced that, and it works great. The downside of this is it's supposed to have clips on both sides to hold it in place. These are gone on almost all of them, especially the used ones, and that's what we installed. So I put a little tape on the sides, just from like here to here, 1/2 inch on both sides of wrap around there. Then it fit tight inside the dash and didn't move around side to side. So this is trash. I'm gonna take that bulb out, throw the switch in the trash. We are going to remove this bar and replace this busted mount here. Get with it. Got Danny here. Got the cover off. Now we're gonna take the bracket off. Crossbar support on, the mount on, the cover on, the OTE pipe back on and screwed in both sides. All done with that. Time to scan codes, see what they are. Clear them, get this car past emissions. I think I got one of those clips. Let me check my bag real quick. Yep, good to go. Let's shut it down. Always good to check oil if you're on level ground. We're not on level ground, so we're not going to check it. We'll move it to level ground, then check it. I'm here with this V6 Honda Accord. It has an oil leak that is leaking from, we believe, a VVT hub solenoid. That solenoid leaks on your alternator, and it also leaks on your exhaust. Then you get to smell it, and that's your indication that you have a leak. So there's your exhaust there. There's a solenoid leak. The alternator's right under it. You want to fix this leak as soon as you smell that exhaust burning on there, because it's leaking down on your alternator. It will likely ruin the alternator over time. So in these Honda Accords, it's really easy to access. You see the valve up here. You got a 2-piece valve, the base part that connects to the cam, and this upper part that's the solenoid controller. So you got 3 10mm screws here and a little wire harness over here, so you could move this wire harness aside and slip this valve in and out. The best thing to do, if you want to keep the repair simple and easy, is to split the valve and take the gaskets, replace the gaskets. So you could use your old valve as OEM Honda if you want to keep that, or you could use the new solenoid and hopefully it'll work as good as the Honda one. I'm not sure. I'm not experienced in that. I don't know if this is having any other kind of leak here. Maybe oil cap might be leaking a little bit, and it may have a little bit of a valve cover leak. And you got a lot of oil over here. My guess would be we got a valve cover leak on this one. So you got oil residue going all the way across here. I doubt this valve leak, which you know it's leaking because it's got oil buildup there, is causing all this over here. Let me look at the oil cap, see if the gasket looks good on that. Man, that's hard to get off. Take off, eat some Wheaties. I don't know if that's got a gasket left on it or not. That feels really hard. So I'm gonna also replace this oil cap gasket. That may be leaking oil down there. You see that residue right under the cap. Hopefully, I don't see anything dripping off this valve cover. So let's see if this stops it. One thing at a time. Man, these spark plug wells might be leaking too. I think he's got a valve cover. This would be my guess. So you got oil coming out of there. Yeah, that would be my guess. For now, I'm going to replace this valve, top half of the valve, and put a new oil cap on there. Hopefully that'll take care of it. So let's get started. We're in the parking lot of an apartment complex. They're probably not going to be real thrilled about me tinkering around with this. You loosen that tab, pull that up. Loosen the tab over here, pull this side up so you can get a little slack in the wire harness here. Let me pry this out just a little bit to work that up. I'm gonna unplug the solenoid here, push it in, work the plug up and off like that. Same for this one. And I'm gonna take the wire harness loose here. There's a screw there. These are probably all 10 millimeters, so I can move this out of the way a little bit. Dipstick will come out of the way too. If you want to get it more out of the way, you can unplug your 3 coil packs here. That's enough there to get your solenoid out. Be careful not to damage this hose. But you can lift up this boot, take that 13 out of that alternator and lift it out of the way further. I would recommend disconnect the battery if you're going to do that. Let's jam a rag under here to catch any oil that'll run off. I like to clean the area off before I take the valve loose so that I don't have to clean it with the valve area open. So I'm going to jam the rag down here to catch brake parts cleaner. I'm going to brush it a little bit and spray it down, and the rag should catch most of the brake parts cleaner. Let me spray it and brush it. I did put a nozzle on the brake parts cleaner. You see how clean it got that area? Very good. Most of it caught in the rag. That's good. I still got some gunk on the oil dipstick. I don't know if this oil dipstick is losing any oil. I doubt it. But let's go ahead and take that 10 out, that 10 out, that 10 out. We already got this moved to the side. Let me pick this up a little bit more. Plenty of space to get that valve off of there. Here's the part the owner got. Heck, that's a genuine Volvo valve, so I'm definitely going to use the valve. And let me go ahead and split it, because I'm not going to replace the lower half of the valve that goes on the cam, because then I've got to do cam adjustments and all that stuff. I'm going to take this top part off and use the top part with the gaskets. Let me break these 2 bolts loose here and that bolt up there. As you can see, these bolts are probably all 3 different sizes. The longest one and 2 shorter ones. Let's see if they're the same size. Heck, the whole valve has the oil dipstick tube on it. These 2 lower screws are the same length. This one's longer. Here are the screws. These things are in there snug. I wouldn't over tighten them. Now this valve should come loose. It's got a little mark on it. Let's massage it apart. It's got 2 guide pins in it that stop it from being misaligned. So let's massage it apart with 2 hands. I was able to pull it apart. The rubber gasket in there, metal plate here. You don't want to drop that, damage the valve. Lift up this metal plate. It comes off the guide. Then there's a gasket here. This gasket here has a screen in it that you, I believe, part of it may need a hook or something to get this gasket out of here. Let me go grab something, small screwdriver or something, work this gasket out of here. I want to replace that on the old valve base. I'm gonna leave the old valve base attached to the vehicle. I was able to peel it up with my finger. So that's the gasket. It's got the screen with it. Make sure you don't get that screen worked out of the gasket. It came out of it, so I'm gonna put it back in. Let me do that with 2 hands. Got the screen back in place. It has a little groove all the way around the gasket area. And again, that fits in there. And that sometimes could sludge up if you don't have good oil changes. So when we take this piece off of the valve that's in the car, we want to make sure that we don't see any sludge in there and wipe out anything that would justify wiping out. But you really don't need to clean in there because all those passages should be open. So you see you have passages there that you want to make sure those passages are open. You could poke in there with, you know, like a zip tie or something in there. Make sure those passages are open. You don't want to jam any metal in there because you don't want to damage anything. So when I pull this off the car, I'm going to pull this off. This plate goes over top of it like that. it's got 1 or 2 guide pins in there. We got 1 guide pin here. The other guide pin is stuck in the bottom of the valve. So we're going to take the top guide pin off or pull this one out. You can't have 2 guide pins is my point. So make sure you arrange that. And then you got the new gasket here that'll go on top of the metal plate. So this will go in. Then you put this in with the guide pins. Then you put the new valve on top of that. Snug those bolts down, plug it in, and wrap it up. I'm doing all this kind of incognito because I'm in a decent apartment complex and I don't want to get run off and have to take this car to a location an hour away to work on it. So here we go. 3 screws. 1. Move the dipstick out of the way so we can get the other 2 out. You don't want to use an impact gun putting these back in. You can rip them out with an impact, but don't use an impact to put them back in. You don't want to strip them or break them. So I got all the screws out. I'm going to go ahead and massage the valve off. It might leak a little oil, that's okay.
Some of the swing and some of the brake.
I'm going to get that plate off.
Yeah, she's back.
Use a screwdriver or something to get that to pop off of there. See, one of the dowels just fell off right there. I got to grab that. This was on pretty tight. So, probably going to pull the gasket up with it, which is fine. Like I said, look in there, make sure nothing looks gummed up, and this one looks nice and clean. So that's good. So I'm going to set the gasket in the track. I'm going to set the metal plate on there. I'm going to set one of the guides back in there. I think this top guide, the valve has the bottom guide. And just bolt it back on. I wipe the top of the valve off. The valve I have in my hand has the guide up there, so I'm going to put this lower guide back in. That lower guide goes to this outside screw hole. It fell right in. Now I'm going to put the gasket in, basket facing down. Press it in the grooves. I can feel it pushing down in the grooves. Perfect. Make sure your screen is in the right place. Take your metal plate, put it in this way. Now you can pull this guide out of here and stick it in there if you want. It comes out real easy. Pull that with my fingers. Stick it in there. Makes it easy for things to line up. Now I'm going to set the valve on there. That gasket's in place. Let me use 2 hands. I got the screws in there. Really, you do not want to do much more than snug these down. If you had to torque them, I would say maybe 5 foot-pounds at the most. If you did inch-pounds, you're looking at 50, 60 inch-pounds at the most. You might want to check that torque spec, but you don't want to strip the screws in the valve. So I'm just going to get a little 1/4 inch ratchet and snug those down with a 1/4 inch. Here's a 1/4 inch wrench. Put it on there. Just barely snug those things down. Barely tighten them down. 1 or 2 fingers. Do not want to strip those out. Get that on. Put the dipstick back in. Hook your harness back where it belongs. Plug your solenoid in.
they're in a different position on this valve. Strange being Honda. And that's it. I'm gonna wash this area down with brake parts cleaner off that exhaust because that's what smells. Put the screw back in here. Make sure your cover is on your alternator bolt in case you move that. Snug that down. And we're done. Press that cover back on. We're gonna wash all that off first before we press that cover on. And put the rag back down there, wash that off so we don't damage the alternator. Before you put the cover on, you want to start the car up, make sure it's not leaking. As you can see here, no evidence of leak. You could take it for a test drive, make sure you don't pop a check engine light. We're going to change that oil cap, make sure that's not leaking. Could be what's leaking across this valve cover. We sprayed down the exhaust with brake parts cleaner, and you could put a tester on your battery and test the alternator to make sure that the oil hasn't damaged your alternator. You can see a little smoke from the oil still burning off. Anyway, that's going to be it. You got a pin in your cover that goes in that hole. Sometimes the rubber grommet sticks to the cover. Then you got those 2 pins here that stick in those holes and do a 1/4 of a turn. Let's go ahead and put the cover on. You can feel it fall in that hole. Put that in there, 1/4 of a turn. This one over here, 1/4 of a turn. No evidence of a check engine light. Check engine light is over there. So it is not lit while we're running. We're good to go. This is the tester I use to test batteries and alternators while they're in or out of the car. So we're going to run the test on it real quick. Make sure the alternator's not damaged. So here's the battery tester. My cranking amps on this battery is 650. So you do a battery test, regular flooded battery, cold cranking amp, 650. We tested HOWRs. HOWRs came out 68 state of health, like 58 charge, but after I ran it a few minutes, it went up to 100% charge. See that health? 100%. Charge 87%. So you can do a charging test. So I'm gonna start the car and we'll do a charging test. And it tells you start the engine. Press OK. That's a low charge. Should be up around 14. It says increase the RPMs to 2,500. So let's do that. Charging normal. You want at least 13.4, 13.6, maybe as high as 14.2. That's it, nice and easy. So there you have it, another successful day in the happiest place on earth. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up, go visit my mother-in-law, go check on Paul, go by the junkyard, go clean up my mess down at the shop, and try to get out of here tonight. So that's where I'm at. Appreciate you all watching. And if you got any questions or we're supposed to get together within the next week or so, send me a text message. Have a great day.